All right, no music tonight because I'm still trying to set up my whole streaming setup and whatnot. I just moved. I am gone. I'm out of the apartment. It's good to be back, boys and girls. Matt and Green Bean, I am glad to be talking some Jets with you finally after a long week. How you boys doing tonight, Matt? I'll throw it to you first.
Big day for me, boys. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Hang on, roll up. We're vaxxed up today. We got the vax, so we are one shot in. So big day for O'Leary.
I like it. I like
Nice.
it.
There
Green
it
Bean, how
is.
you doing?
There's proof. Matt got the vax. Good for you, man. Good for you. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I'm doing well too. It's nice to see you guys. It feels like a month, doesn't it? It feels like a real long time. So it's nice to be back with you two cats.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you want to subscribe to any of these guys on the panel down below, the description will have their channels as well. Make sure you hit the like button on your way in, but let's get into some topics. Forgive me. You guys are going to have to throw out some topics in the chat. I've been a little disconnected. I had just got internet today. It's the first time in like a week that I've had internet outside of like my phone and whatnot. But I saw a few rumors, so let's do this. We had some thoughts on Will Fuller. There were some rumors about him and Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's talk about Will Fuller first. Greenby, what are your thoughts on the Jets possibly going after Will Fuller? What did you think when you saw that news?
Well, I think let me just say this, and the last couple pieces of content I put out were to this tune, but I think we have to remember, guys, that this is rumor season. It can be a really fun, exciting time, but that's all it is. So it's a rumor, right? So I didn't buy into it too much, but what I will say is this: as much as Will Fuller is just such a great threat in the passing game, he has yet to complete an entire season. So we just got, well, we didn't get yet, but we're going to be getting rid of Brashad Perryman. We took him on with the hopes that a perpetually injured receiver can make it. The Jets are not the place. You luck, Jets, man. Bringing in a guy who has an injury history here, he's going to have an injury history. It's not going away. That's the Jets. So we need guys who've never been injured. So that's my thoughts. I love him if he comes cheap, which he's not going to, by all means. But again, I think Joe Douglas is going to be looking to move away from this type of stuff. Healthy guys, 16 games and all that jazz.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the possibility of the Jets bringing in Will Fuller?
Kind of like what Green Bean said. When he's on the field, I like him. He's just never on the field. He played 11 games last year, missed time with suspension. Also has some injury struggles. He's a deep threat, which would be nice for the Jets to have because I don't see them bringing Brashad Perryman back. But it's too risky for me. You brought in Brashad Perryman, who is someone who never stayed healthy last year, and he didn't stay healthy. And I think you'd be getting yourself into the same boat. Yes, Fuller's a much better player than Perryman, but if you wanted your deep threat, like you should have just re-signed Robbie, the guy who plays 16 games every year. So I would like to see them go a completely different direction at wide receiver. I don't think Fuller would be a wise decision.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I don't want Will Fuller. I don't think it would be a wise move. I think you're kind of getting more of the same with what you got out of Brashad Perriman. He's going to miss the first game of the season thanks to the PED suspension. I don't know. I think he's definitely a better player than Perriman. I think with the Jets looking... So I guess this sort of brings me into both players with Will Fuller and Juju. I think the thought of the Jets inquiring about these guys, Will Fuller, now maybe Deshaun Watson's like, oh, okay, you know what? Will Fuller, that could be an option over there. That's interesting. They're interested in that. If the Jets want to keep if the Jets want to keep Sam Darnold, then maybe Juju Smith-Schuster sounds attractive. And it's like, oh, we reunite him with Sam. Maybe we move on from Crowder and we go into this Juju route. I think they're kind of hedging their bets. Maybe it's not even a legit report, but like I think there's some hedging of bets on both sides that sort of play to the strengths of both quarterbacks that you're prospectively going after, while also looking into the whole Zach Wilson thing. So that's my kind of thoughts on that. Any more thoughts on Will Fuller, or should I jump into Juju?
Let's do Juju.
Yeah.
Ooh. Thoughts on Juju. Matt, what you thinking?
I think he cares a little bit too much about dancing on TikTok for me, which is I'm the TikTok guy, and if I'm saying that, that's how you know you have a problem, man. Down late in the playoff game, he's hitting the Corvette dance, on in the slot. Like, can we get in the game a little bit here? Good player, not a great player. Don't think I would want to overpay him. I don't think he's a number one. And just too much of a headache. Like, again, with the amount of receivers on the market, I don't want to take on a swing of someone who, A, can't stay on the field in Will Fuller, and B, someone who's just a headache in Juju. Like, go out and either pay for Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, someone like that, or if you want to take a mid-level swing, Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, much better fits, I think.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster?
Yeah, well, just to touch on what Matt said, I'm really liking the idea of Curtis Samuel more and more. He wasn't somebody I was really looking at, but I have this week, and I like him. The Juju Smith-Schuster thing, again, I think the allure with him was this relationship that he and Sam had. It's similar to the Gase Douglas. Like, I don't think they're best buds or anything, but they have played together. They had success together, and they talk and think positively toward one another. So there's that. So that was all good. But if we're going to move away from Sam, Juju Smith-Schuster makes one tick less sense. And then when you add that punky stuff that he was doing, I don't care what anybody says. He's having fun and all that. These are men that are very, very competitive. Let me tell you right now, there were guys on every single team that took offense to him doing that. Every single one. Maybe not every single guy. Maybe Jamal Adams like, nah, man, he's good. That's fun. I think we all should do that. But a lot of guys took offense to that. And I don't know, man. It just seems like I'd rather move away from that. He's a good receiver. But the third reason why I would shy away from him is, and I've said this before, I don't like guys coming out of Pittsburgh as free agents, especially wide receivers. More of them take a downswing once they leave the Pittsburgh Steelers than continue to do well. And it's just, that's really a credit to Pittsburgh's team and development and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I think that when you go that way from the Steelers, you end up getting the guy right after he was good.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've felt on Juju. And guys, I hear you guys talking about the lag. Still don't have the best internet right now. I'm using like some struggle bus until I can get the good internet. They told me, the one company that told me when I moved, I was like, oh yeah, I'd like to set up service. They're like, oh yeah, come on out. So they come on out, they go to set up the service, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna need construction out here. I was like, all right, so what does that mean? When end of the week? They're like, you'll hear back in 21 days. I was like, 21 days. Hear back, and then what? 3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months. God damn it. Yeah, no. So I got to figure out how the best way to stream with this internet is. It might be dumbing down some of this stuff for a little bit, but bear with us, guys. We'll be rocking and rolling. Yeah, my thoughts on Juju. I just don't see it as an overly exciting move. It's like, if you're going to move on from Crowder and you want to justify the $10.5 million that you're saving from him or whatever that number is, and use it on Juju, I mean, maybe you can get me on board with that. What is he going to cost? Because I'm with you guys. I think that Curtis Samuel makes a lot more sense for this offense than Juju, but that's more so if we're holding on to Crowder. Although I guess you could argue that getting rid of Crowder, you could bring in Curtis Samuel, you could bring in Juju, you could bring in every wide receiver. Bring in Will Fuller. Yeah, you got a slot guy.
Let's do it.
You got a gadget guy. You got a all gas guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I wouldn't want to go after either one of these receivers. I'd be disappointed. All right. I guess let's go. Let's transition to this. The Crowder, cut him or keep him, because this sort of falls in line with the whole receiver thing. So Green Bay, where do you stand on this? The whole Jamison Crowder. I believe if we cut him, we save $10.5 million. Do you want the Jets to cut him? Do you want them to bring in someone else to replace him? Or do you want to hold on to him?
Well, number one, I'll say this again. It is rumor season, and this one backs itself up. If you do the trace backwards to where, we've heard it from 1,000 different places now, but when you back it up, it all comes from somebody who said, hey, the Jets could move on from Crowder and save $10 million. Like, that's the whole report. It's not, hey, I was talking to an inside source and they said the Jets are moving away from Crowder. It's just that they could. And of course they could. You know what I mean? They can move away from fucking anybody if they want. But so that's that. But as far as my own feelings, I don't think you break it if it's not broken. Like Crowder's been the only thing that's been a positive on this offense for a few years now. And unless we needed that 10.5 million, and I think it's a positive to know it's there. Like, let's say you go in the draft and it just falls in a certain way where you're getting, 3 receivers and 2 of them happen to be young, small slot, shifty guys. And hey, man, and it goes that way and you can save it, maybe. But I just think that's not an area you look to create a need. Crowder's solid, man. He's one of the better. He's in that top 10 category of slot receivers. And I think it'd be nice to see him with an actual regime and see what he can really do, because the guy's talented. So me personally, I would say keep him unless you absolutely needed the 10.5 million for something.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Jamison Crowder?
Yeah, I want to keep him. I think he's a solid slot receiver. He's probably, I'd say probably somewhere between 5 and 10 in terms of where he ranks in the slot receivers. And maybe he won't have the same production like he did in the Adam Gase, very heavy slot receiver kind of an offense. But I will say this, just having as many weapons for whoever the quarterback is going to be next year is such a big thing. And I mean, if he had any sort of consistency at the quarterback position the last 2 years, he probably hits 1,000 yards in one, if not both years, to be completely honest with you. And if he plays all 16 games, he's a solid player. The Jets don't need cap space. If they only had $10 or $15 million in cap space, then sure, you cut him and you move on and, fill other needs, but they don't. They have one of the most amounts of cap spaces in the NFL. Why are you cutting your good players? Like, I don't know. It makes sense.
Right. Yeah, when I did my mock off seasons, both of them had keeping Jamison Crowder. There's no way I want to move on from him. He's been the only consistent weapon we've had over the last few years. I do see some comments, and Strickland over in the comment section says Crowder isn't $9 million better than Berrios, which I get you can argue that for sure. I think he is more consistent, and I think he has been a proven commodity in the NFL longer. Like, I do think Jamison Crowder is, like Matt said, a 5 to 10, top slot in this league. So why make your offense weaker when it's already like as weak as it is? Hold on to your guys. It's a proven commodity. If you need the 10.5 million, like Green Bean says, you got it in your back pocket. But you're gonna have $70-80 million in cap space before you have to make that kind of move. It's almost like like George Fant. Like, I don't want to necessarily move on from George Fant if we need offensive line help, even though we could move on from him and save a bunch of cap space. That's sort of how I looked at it, at least. Guys, I'll get to the super chats in just a second. I need them to load on my side of the screen over here. So when they do, I'll bring them up. So let's circle around. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson and anything we have heard or felt since, I guess, 2 weeks ago. What are our thoughts on Deshaun Watson? Have they changed at all? Green Bean, I'll kick it to you first.
Wait, what was it? What did you say?
Deshaun Watson. Have your thoughts changed on Deshaun Watson over the last 2 weeks, or any news that has come out?
Yeah, I'm sorry, and it's funny. I know I'm gonna get beat up. It's like I'm spacing out early on you. Usually that's like my last 20-minute version of myself. Going, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? So sorry about that. I was reading something. All right. I got a guy busting my balls in there. It's good though. He's a good guy. But so Here's my take on it. It's funny. Somebody actually reached out to me just today and said, I thought you said we were getting Watson. And I just said, well, what happened that changed anything? Here's the thing. All the reports that we were seeing that he was coming, it was like crazy third party type of stuff. We didn't hear anything solid. It was just, it was just people talking. And then it calmed down a little bit and people are talking about all the other stuff. I don't see anything that has come out to make me think anything different than I was thinking 2 weeks ago. Nothing has come out firm one way or the other. I saw some fake report today about the Panthers trading McCaffrey and 3 firsts and all, but it's a fake report. It's not real, and we can attach emotions to it if we want and argue about it. But that's fine. We can do that, but it's not real. So we got to know that before we start calling each other assholes and stuff like that. It's not a real report. So my thing is this: the more time that goes on, the more, to me, it supports what I've been saying the whole time, that they're not getting 4 firsts for Deshaun Watson. They're in a hole and they're negotiating up. Most teams in the league can't even take on his salary. 12 teams are over the caps as it stands now. 8 more are 10 million or less are under the cap. And then there's only like 5 or 6 teams that actually have the money to be able to make this trade. Once you add on top of that, you add that not everybody has the capital that we have. I mean, nobody else in the league can offer the number 2 pick. We just leave that on the table and say, go negotiate with everybody else and come back and tell us if it's more than the number 2 pick. Because anybody else they trade with, they're not getting their choice at quarterback. No one. And obviously outside of Trevor Lawrence, unless it's the Jaguars, of course, which I heard a report they were doing it too. It's crazy. So for me, all it really does is it supports the idea that the Texans thought they were going to be able to kick people around. It's not happening that way. And they're going to wait and see how much value they can get. And it's going to fall down to the Jets giving them the number 2 overall pick and some chump change. And that's what I think it's going to be, because they know their situation. They're not in a good situation. They don't have the foundation to bully anybody right now. And the league knows it, and everybody's hurting. So that's my thoughts. I think we're still going to get them, and it's going to be cheap. It's going to be a deal, everybody. Brace yourselves.
Guys, we'll get to the Super Chats in just a second. I want to get Matt's thoughts on Deshaun Watson. How you feeling, Matt? What are you thinking about this topic?
I hope Green Bean's right. I hope we get him on the cheap. That'd be the steal of the century. I really still think that people are undervaluing Deshaun Watson. And him getting any blame for why they went 4-12 last year is just completely ridiculous. They were a dysfunctional team with a horrible coach, awful defense. Their best receiver went down with the suspension. They traded away DeAndre Hopkins. Like, so many things went into that year. But I don't think anything's changed really since the last time we've talked that made me feel like, okay, it's more likely or less likely going to happen. It's all hearsay and stuff that, like Green Bean said, it's all rumors. So whatever you want to put your stock into to spin your narrative, you can absolutely do that right now. But I think we're still playing a little bit of a wait and see game.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fall. I feel like as the days go on and I hear more and more, I'm like, man, you know what? I don't know if the Texans are going to trade Deshaun. Like, I think they might just let him rot for a year at $10.5 million. They're going to stink anyway. His trade value is not going to be horrible next year. Like, you got to think a year off. What does that do for him? You think he's getting 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks still next year? Probably at age 26. Why not? Now, for me, I think he's either going to be a Jet next year or he is going to sit out for a season. Or maybe the Texans just don't care about the number 2 pick. That would have to be the other piece of this, because if they care about Zach Wilson or the number 2 pick, this has to happen by draft day. And they may not want to risk losing a top 3 quarterback for a raffle ticket. They might be willing to eat the $10.5 million this year just to, or whatever it would cost to let him sit on the bench. I don't know. Not too sure. All right. Pat Vito coming in with a super chat says, let me shrink that down a little bit. That's pretty big. Keep seeing people talk about cutting Crowder. That would be a mistake. Let's not repeat last offseason with another Robbie situation. We have the cap to keep one of the best slot wide receivers and still get a free agent wide receiver. And we have the NFL draft. I completely agree, Pat. I think Green Bean and Matt both completely agree. I think it makes a ton of sense. You can't get rid of Crowder. he's just been such a proven commodity for you over the last few years. You know, you got to hold on to your guys. Got to keep your playmakers. Eddie DeJesus says, "You were missed, Ryan." Not. Don't forget to hit the like button. Well, I'm glad I was missed a little bit, even if it was you actively not wanting to miss me, because that means you were thinking about me. And by the time my voice reverberates off the walls, it bounces back to me. I'm an idiot. Sorry, that's the Grinch. I'm just like, I've been up way too long. I woke up at like 5 o'clock and started painting things, and now I'm like,
yeah, dude, you got moving face. That's what you got right now. I know it. I do it every 2 weeks, buddy. I fucking get it. I'm doing it tomorrow morning. My whole day today. It's not quite your move, but you guys know.
Yeah.
Remember when we were doing the draft and day 2, I couldn't be there. I had to move my house. I went from a 3,500 square foot house into a 200 square foot fucking can. And it was like, I wanted to die, dude. I couldn't. I'm telling you, for 3 days, I just stared at a tree. I couldn't handle it. So I get it.
Dude, it's been so rough. Like, it's just, we lost power yesterday. We have like this wood burning stove, so we're able to like stay warm like around that. I had no internet for like the first week of living here. First world problems. that's what right. It is. Jeff Loke says, "Hey guys, you guys have anyone in mind that could hit the open market due to their contract situation and salary cap dropping this year?" Yes, for me. So there's a few guys. I don't know if they'll hit free agency. So I'll say Lattimore and Ramczyk are both trade targets due to their cap numbers. I think Kevin Zeitler, the guard from the Giants, is a really, really good option for guard that's going to be cheaper, that may not want to leave New York, so he doesn't have to like uplift his family. He's 31 years old, so he's a little bit older. But if you're trying to replace a starting guard, him for a year or two may not be the worst situation. What about you, Matt? What do you think?
I think your Lattimore one's a good one. That's the first name that popped into my head. It's so tough. I feel like I was gonna say we're still so far out, but we're really not. It's like a month away.
Yeah.
But there are going to be some big names that come out there. Pick just about anyone on the Saints because they have so much issue with the cap. Potentially the Eagles. They have some cap issues as well, and who the hell knows what they're going to do with Carson Wentz. So those are really the two teams that I'm looking to pry people away from.
Green Bean, what about you? Any guys you're keeping your eye on as free agency approaches and cuts might be happening?
Yeah. Well, you know what I want to do? Well, number one, I think we're going to be bringing over some Niners players. If we can't do some of the trading things that I want to do, I think we should look at Verrett. I think Sherman should come. I heard something today that said actually Sherman might not come because he doesn't want to leave the West Coast, like it's a real geographical thing. But yeah. I think if anybody's going to get him to do it, it's Saleh. So I think that he's a good one, but I also think that Verrett would be a really good one to bring over at cornerback. But here's the thing. I'm really looking for some creativity. I'm looking for all this past 18 months of little back-end trades to mean something. And I'm thinking that with the salary cap going down, $35, $40 million, whatever it is, and all these teams over it, I'm thinking that we only have 1/4, but we have 4/5 and 4/6 over the next 2 years. So I think that we could use that and get some guys. My number one target, guys, is Kyle Rudolph. The Vikings are in cap trouble, and I would love to send them a 5th-round pick and grab Kyle Rudolph. Another one I really like is Grady Jarrett, the defensive tackle down in Atlanta with the Albrecht connection. So there's a few guys, man. And then my absolute dream scenario is the Saints, who are in the worst cap trouble of all of them. One of the two, but Ramczyk or, Ramczyk, I always say that wrong, but the tackle, or Marshawn Lattimore for like a third. If you could give them a third, like they have to dump salary. They have to do it. So getting a 3rd-round pick for a guy, dude, he's a top-tier corner. And if that were to be the case, I wouldn't be looking at Verrett anymore. I'd still bring Sherman for the the moral, like, the rah-rah stuff and helping to implement the systems and schemes and all that stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, man, that I'm really looking for some back end trades, and with like taking advantage of other teams that poorly planned. We planned well. It's the ant and the grasshopper. Remember that story? Right now, we're the ant, they're the grasshopper. They were partying and singing, and now they're in trouble. And if they want to come in here, they're gonna pay for it. And that's the way I want to see it. I want to see Joe Douglas fucking rake teams over the coals for their best players. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. That just makes a lot of sense. Like, these teams are gonna have to cut guys. So what are other teams willing to give up? Because that's really who you're competing for. Like, if there is a team out there that wants to give a second-round pick for Lattimore, I'm sure the Saints would do it. I would do it. If you told me number 34 turns into Lattimore, okay, done. Like, that would be one player that him and Ramczyk, I would say the Saints are probably the one team that I'm really looking hard at for, like, really good players to hit the market. The Eagles, I feel like, don't really have anyone, but they're a team, like Matt said, you got to keep an eye on him. I want to say, like, Barnett has a pretty unfavorable contract. I think Curry, Ertz is going to get cut. He's going to be. I bet he comes over. I think we get Ertz. I would think we need tight end. Playmakers in this LaFleur system. I could see Ertz coming over with Herndon, and then maybe we move on from one of our other guys. We'll see. Pat coming in with another super chat says, I'm so happy Jets fans in the comments aren't running the Jets with all the cut Crowder talk. LOL. They love to make situations worse and hope the Jets can hit big in the draft and replace Crowder. No need to cut Crowder. I completely agree. And let me just pull up Crowder's contract, because I'm curious, because normally when you're in the last year of a deal, you don't tend to have a sorry, as I'm trying to type, you don't tend to have a date that you get like a bonus by. So yeah, it looks like we could cut Crowder at any time. It could be like right before the season, and we'd save $10 million. Like, he'll get a bonus probably for being on the team that long. So maybe he gets like 1.375, whatever his cap number winds up being, or I guess it's a per game roster bonus. We could literally cut him before the first game of the season and save his entire salary. So there's no reason to rush and cut him now unless you definitely need his salary to bring in the next player, the next big contract you want to eventually bring in. I don't know. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Pat. I think all of us are on the same page. At least the three of us are. All right, let me see. I saw it pop up here. Where'd it go? Detonator 10, what's up, man? How you been, go Jets? I like it, dude. I'm trying to fill this whole place up with furniture eventually. I definitely have an echo. It's a very empty room. I don't even have curtains on the window. Like,
need soundproofing, my man.
I need some soundproofing. Yeah, I need like those like fucking whatever those boards are.
Hey, just go get a bunch of egg crates. That's what, the egg cartons.
Yeah.
If you don't mind how it looks. That's what we used to do when we were teenagers with my rock bands. We would go and fucking line the whole world with egg cartons.
Oh, see, now that we're like old enough, there's this thing called Amazon. You could get these things probably for like not a whole heck of a lot, but I like the egg carton idea. I do love eggs. Eggs are fantastic. So thank you, Detonator.
It's free.
Oh, eggs. Kyle Orms, thank you for the super chat, says, when do we think JD will decide to either trade Sam or keep him, and will we know by free agency? That's an interesting question. So if we get Watson at the start of free agency, that would be how we kind of, I think, get that whole thing started. Then Sam's getting traded. If it doesn't happen then it's going to happen draft day. I think we're going to wait, and we're going to see who we get a better offer for. Are we getting a better offer for Wilson and us trading down from number 2? Or are we getting a better offer for Sam? Like maybe the Colts want to give up their, 21 or something, whatever their draft pick is, or the Saints at the end of the first round. I think we're going to find out with Sam probably by the time the draft rolls around. I think they're going to play hardball with Watson. Matt, what do you think?
I definitely think that Watson is going to have to be moved by free agency. Like, I feel like if you're trading for him, you got to know what your plan is. Like, by that point, I know technically they don't have to do that, the Texans, but I don't know. I just feel like that makes more sense. So I'm guessing, I would think somewhere around March, when free agency is starting to come up and get going, you're going to see some more movement. Now, theoretically, could he wait to the draft to do it? Yeah, but I think you're probably going to get your best value now as teams are planning for, their offseason still.
Greenby, what do you think about the whole Sam Darnold thing? When do you think that trade goes down?
It's funny with Sam Darnold, man. It's just, I don't know. It's like I'm having all these contradictory thoughts about our little boy Sam Darnold these days. But to answer your question, I think that I'm like, we should do. But so I think Matt's right. I mean, it's going to be really prohibitive to teams if they don't know who their quarterback is before they go into free agency, both for monetarily, and then also the free agents, who's going to sign where, not knowing, or if they sign somewhere thinking it's going to be Jimmy G and then they end up trading for Sam Darnold, and I don't want to fucking play with Sam Darnold, whatever it could be. I just think it creates a mess. Technically speaking, you don't have to do anything until the draft, and even after that, but that would be when teams are really trying to get things done. But I think free agency, March 17th, is going to be a big day. Like, before March 17th, we're going to see a lot of this stuff shake out. I don't know what's going to happen with Sam. I liked the idea of Sam and the 34th overall pick for the Panthers, or even 19. Like, I like those. Now, they're kind of pipe dreamy. That's why I like them so much. I'm aware. Okay. I understand why I like them, but they're not entirely unrealistic either. Like, so with the Matt Rule, Matt had a funny thing on his podcast, most recent podcast. If you guys haven't listened to it, it's great. But he said, how painful it would be for Matt Rule, Joe Brady, Robbie Anderson, and Sam Darnold to be down there and have, be a big success when that was literally going to be our team. And we blew it. You know what I mean? So, but I think a lot of this stuff can make sense if you look at it through the right lens. You don't have to move too many pieces to make those trades into something realistic. So I'm really hoping, if we move Sam, I'm really hoping that it happens sooner rather than later and we get maximum value. I hope Joe Douglas shows us some more of his worth with this one.
Yeah, I think seeing what Stafford's going for, I think, what Wentz could possibly go for, I think they could probably get a first-round pick for him. It'll be interesting to see what we could get for Sam and when it happens. Pat Vito becoming the newest member of the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I love seeing the JETS in the chat. So, boys, drop a JETS for Pat becoming a new member in here. V-Man says, hey, Matt, did you see the creepy Brady video that I sent you? Matt, did you see this?
Gonna be honest, I did not see it. He sent me a few things that I did not get to. Hand up, that's on me. I do a really garbage job of checking DMs. Like, sometimes I'm on top of it, so I don't get to every message. I really try, but I didn't see that
one. Ghost Rider says, I think Carolina is going to get Watson, McCaffrey, and 3 first-rounders. Looks like a good haul. I don't know. I don't know if that gets it done, because what are they doing at quarterback? That still leaves you high and dry there. Are they taking Teddy Bridgewater on? Are they going to try and get a quarterback at 8, and that's just, hopefully someone's there? I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Matt, what do you think about 3 first-round picks and McCaffrey?
I don't think that's a better offer than what the Jets would give, but I think that would be very smart for Matt Rule to do, as an 8th overall pick isn't nearly as valuable as a number 2 pick. And if you're trading Christian McCaffrey, who's a good player, but we saw the Panthers offense seem to be okay with, replacement level running back behind him. if you can sell the Texans, which I think you could, on taking on a star running back, didn't they just do that this past year? Then maybe you could pull something like that off. Again, I don't think it's as good of value as what like the Jets could offer, but it's not crazy unrealistic.
Green Bean, what are you thinking about the whole 3 first-round picks in McCaffrey?
Well, just to be clear, with respect, Steven, or Ghost Rider. That's funny. You made me say it like that. Ghost Rider.
Rider. It's like Flow Rider.
Yeah, Flow Rider. This is the one that I was talking about earlier that turned out to be a fake Schefter account or something like that. This is the exact one I was talking about. So I think I don't think Carolina's offering that, number one, including the 8th overall pick. I just don't think that's what they're doing. But also, when you look at it from the Texans' perspective, McCaffrey is injured, man. He's a running back with an very expensive contract. They just traded for an old injured running back last year. Granted, it's some of the, not all the same players as far as the trade makers and all that. But I just think this one doesn't feel all that real to me. It's not real, number one, but even just as far as a pondering, it doesn't feel all that real to me. And again, the number 2 overall, so if they give him number 8 overall, great. Fields is still gone. Watson is still gone. Trey Lance might even be gone. What are you left with? Do you like Mac Jones that much? So it still leaves a major hole, and it dumps, with respect to what I think is the best running back talent-wise in the game, it dumps that salary on the Texans when they're not in good salary cap place. Granted, if you don't have Watson, I get it. But it doesn't give them much breathing room from what their problems are right now, other than the picks, of course. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem – this one doesn't feel all that realistic to me.
Yeah, it just – so I pulled up McCaffrey's contract right now. So he's 25 years old. He is signed through 2025. So that would be his 29-year-old season. If they were to take on his contract, it would be a $8 million, $8.4 million.
Oh, it's only 8?
11.8, 11.8, and 12, because he got a pretty good signing bonus.
Right.
For the Panthers to trade him, they would have to eat an additional $4.6 million in salary cap this year to facilitate that trade. Which, if you're getting Watson, definitely worth it, for sure.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I don't know if the Texans want to do that, but because, like you said, this sounds to me like a trade where if it were offered, and if the Texans maybe weren't in love with Wilson, and they were like, oh, all right, you know what, maybe Fields or maybe Trey Lance, and now we're on draft day and it's pick 8 and one of those guys is there, okay, now we'll pull the trigger, we'll get the quarterback we want at that point. But I don't know. I don't know how you don't like the Jets' offer of the number 2 overall pick, more than that pick or that trade.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Panthers seem to me like they're interested in upgrading the quarterback position via trade. So that's why I think it's not crazy to see that they're in on, the Watsons or the Darnolds and stuff like that. We'll see if they land one of those guys, but I think they're going to be active in trying to either trade for a quarterback or trade to move up in the draft for one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, so, and why do you, I was going to say, so what, and the reason for that, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, it's because 8 is a tough place in this draft. It's just it's a great pick. There's tons of value associated with it. But as far as upgrading that quarterback position in this draft, 8 is tough. You're just outside. So, right?
Because Lance could go at 7 to Detroit. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that Goff is going to be this long-term fix in Detroit. They might look to take a guy and have him sit for a year, which is a perfect situation for Lance. So
perfect.
There's a very real possibility that 4 quarterbacks are gone in the first 7 picks, and then you're kind of SOL if you're the Panthers there.
Yeah, exactly. I could see Trey Lance fitting well in that NFC North too. You got the cold teams like the Bears and the Packers. You need some quarterback that knows how to play in cold weather, and he of the quarterbacks available. I mean, I guess Fields to Ohio State. That's not real warm either. But yeah, you could see all those quarterbacks go. It's not a given thing by any means. And I think if you have the opportunity to move on from Watson and get your number 2 overall quarterback, like I'm almost to the point where it's like, look, I still want to trade for Watson. He's still my number 1 choice, but like Wilson's looking pretty good. I'm not ashamed of the whole Wilson thing, and we'll get into that in a little bit for sure. Benjamin come in and says, "Yo, is it possible to get me on the panel one day? This makes my Tuesday every week, and I think I'd do a way better job than that Max kid before."
No Max slander. No Max.
No Max. I will not have any Max slander on this. Absolutely not, Benjamin. Right. But you can call into the Monday show. The Monday show, I do my my Monday call-in show. So that's the perfect opportunity for that. Where did I see this? Sorry, I'm all over the place right now. Steven with the super chat. Looks like, what is that, Australia money? The A? I don't know. I'm not sure how that works. Thank you so much. He says, Fields getting the same draft treatment as Lamar, Watson, and Murray because he's a black quarterback. I don't know, because Murray went number 1 overall, so I don't know how you could really say he was getting like a bad treatment there. Watson, I think there's probably something to be said for Watson and Fields being maybe similar in terms of how they're being graded. Lamar, I think everyone was just sort of flabbergasted as to how someone could run around so much as a quarterback, and they didn't think it was viable, especially after, I think, what happened with RG3. I think it left people kind of gun-shy of taking a quarterback that relies so heavily on his legs. Greeny, what are your thoughts on Fields getting a similar treatment to other black quarterbacks?
Yeah, man, I don't know. This stuff, it's just for me, look, I'm a white guy, obviously, right? So I don't have a platform to say, to relate to how anybody's feeling or anything. But I do disagree with that statement. I don't think it has anything to do with him being black. I think it has to do with some very specific football-laden aspects of his game, like zeroing in on one read, choosing to run before he goes through his progressions, things like that. And it's the natural. You see this every single year with every quarterback. All the quarterbacks, it swings all through before the draft. You see it. Everybody takes like the number 1 or number 2 moniker. Guys slide up after the combine that have no rights. So like you see it. It's every single year. But I don't know. I don't think it has anything to look. I'm not saying there's not people out there that hate him because he's black. I'm not saying that, but I don't think that's what we're seeing right now. I think there are absolutely concerns with Fields. I don't love Fields. I love his deep ball, man. I think there's not a prettier one in the draft class. And he blew me away at the end of the season there. But he has issues. I mean, and if you like, when you're looking at certain players, like I'm older, I happen to like pocket quarterbacks. These running quarterbacks never seem to last to me. Lamar Jackson remains to be seen, but he's not quite the MVP candidate he was, a year or two ago. It's settling in. He's still great and everything, but these guys don't last traditionally. And so that's always my concern with running quarterbacks. And I'm a little old school. I just like a guy to sit back there behind his line and throw the ball, not run with it outside of 3 or 4 times a game. That's what I like to see. So I don't know. I think I disagree with that statement.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Fields getting the same treatment as former black first-round quarterbacks?
I'll say this. I do think people are overthinking Justin Fields a little bit right now. I think he's a very, very good prospect. But I'll also in the same breath say this. I think people were doing the same thing last year with Justin Herbert. I think a lot of people were overthinking him and saying, okay, well, he's definitely – some people had Jordan Love ranked higher than Justin Herbert. And I think that was the prospect fatigue. I saw that word thrown around in the chat. I think that's a good way to describe it is some prospect fatigue with Fields. I think the comparison to Watson is maybe a little bit better from Steven here. The Murray one doesn't really make a lot of sense. He's a consensus number 1 pick in that year draft. And with Lamar, my thing is if he will be able to throw the ball enough at the next level. I think Bill Polian or some of the guys who are like, oh, he needs to transition to wide receiver was a bit of a stretch. But to say, hey, like, I'm unsure if he'll be able to throw the ball consistently at the next level, I don't think was a crazy take for Lamar. So I don't think this specific instance is because of his race.
Yeah, that's I think we're kind of all in agreement on that. I think it's definitely the football questions more than anything else, and I don't necessarily agree with the comparisons outside of maybe Watson. Like Watson, I can understand maybe a little bit more, but star-studded team, is it the weaker conference? I don't know. I could see an argument for that. Now let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Zach Wilson. Now I know Matt has a lot to say about this, and I want to get into that, but I'll give you my thoughts. We'll throw it over to Green Bay, and we'll have Matt kind of round up the end here. So Zach Wilson, I really like him. I think as I'm seeing more and more mock drafts, and I'm hearing more and more from different scouts and people that are in positions of power, it seems like he is the number 2 quarterback in this draft behind Trevor Lawrence. And there's part of me that really doesn't feel bad about like the Jets not giving up 3 first-round picks and rolling with Wilson. I could get behind that thought process. There's so many different ways we could go about this offseason where I would be content. And then I would say content to excited is like the spectrum. There's very few options that leave me like, oh man, why'd we do that? I don't see Douglas doing that to us. I think we'll definitely have a good offseason. Green Bay, what are your thoughts on Zach Wilson? Where does he kind of rank among your quarterback thought process right now? How you feeling on him?
Well, I think he sucks because he came from money. I don't like it.
He's one of those 3-car garage guys.
That's right. You know what else pisses me off is that he didn't have a C on his chest, and I think that there's a lot more to that than you guys are thinking. I think he's good, man. I looked at a lot of his stuff. I mean, look, the knocks on him are competition, and that his line was beastly, and that he's going to need the specific setup offensively to succeed. But like there are those chatterings, right? And I think that there's something to that. I think he's a good prospect, and I'm still not in love with him. But I will, just to say something, that I like him, but I'm not like head over heels or anything. But I think your comment though too, that both, and this goes for both Fields and Zach Wilson for me, the idea of trading 3 or 4 firsts for Deshaun Watson when those guys are there for one, and we can still, like, you got to look at it like, is Deshaun Watson worth more than Zach Wilson and the 2 other fucking guys, you know what I mean, Devontae Smith and whatever. And that's where you start to go, I don't know. So I like him as a prospect. I think it's funny, all the stuff that's going on with him right now. And again, this is just the stuff exactly like we were just talking about with Fields. Like, people kind of, there's a natural thing that takes place every offseason here because there's no real news. So people make stuff up and they look for things to talk about, and they report them as if they're big stories because they need to keep their existence justified. So that's just what we're seeing. I think he's a good prospect, and I think he probably fits our offense more than Fields if you look at Shanahan, and what he's kind of done. So I think that if we were going to pick 1 or 2, I think it would end up being Wilson. So there's that. But anyway, yeah, I like him. I think he's good.
Matt, I want to get your thoughts. What are you thinking about this Zach Wilson?
Yeah, so I'm with Green Bean. I think some of this stuff is a little overblown on that he wasn't a captain right away, and just that he's a spoiled rich kid, this and that. And I guess I'll plug briefly if you don't mind. I have an interview dropping on Thursday where I talked to Jay Drew. He covers BYU for a newspaper out in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we get into a really deep conversation on Zach Wilson. And I don't want to give away too much, but the thing I'll leave you guys with is that the character stuff is way overblown and just just looking into a story in the offseason. It's that prospect fatigue that we talked about. Like, you're looking for reasons to hold things against a prospect, and I think that's what we're doing right now with Zach Wilson.
So I know you've had Zach Wilson as your number 2 quarterback. Is he concrete now, number 2? Has that changed for you at all?
I think so, and I really like Justin Fields too. Like I've said all along, I don't want this to be, Matt's the Zach Wilson guy and he thinks Fields sucks. No, if Fields ends up being the pick at 2, I think Fields is going to be a good player. I think the Dak Prescott comparison is a good one for him. But just based on what I've seen this year, the rise, the electricity of him, he's an intriguing player to me. I really like him a lot. I think the upside is really there. And like Green Bean said too, I think he fits this offense a little bit better. So for the Jets specifically, I think he should be the choice at quarterback. And for me personally, I like him an edge more than Justin Fields, but it's close.
Ooh, boys, you're going to have to let us know what you think of Zach Wilson in the chat. Isaiah Ellis says, please explain Breeze' $25 million pay reduction and its impact on the Saints salary cap, free agency, and the 28th and the Jets. So I have his contract up right here. So basically what happened was he renegotiated his contract so that he could have voidable years. If you have he had such a big signing bonus, he's saying, hey, I'll defer. Basically what happened with Curtis Martin when the Jets asked Curtis not to retire because all his money would hit the cap all at once, they're deferring some of his money. So Breeze won't, I don't know if he'll officially retire, turn his paperwork yet because it'll affect their cap, but they're deferring those cap hits to later years. So they will eventually have to pay the piper, but he does free up their cap. And as of right now, according to Over the Cap, they are sitting at $70 million or $69 million over the salary cap. So they're still going to have to make a bunch of moves, a whole bunch of moves. I guess, do you guys have anything more to add in the Saints side of cap situation? Who should we be looking at, Matt?
Lattimore is the big one for me. I think corner to me is a little bit of a bigger need than right tackle, as good as Remchek is. I think he's a great tackle. But getting a legitimate number 1 corner who's still very young would be huge for this team.
Green Bean, any thoughts on the Saints and their salary cap situation right now?
Yeah, I mean, but as nice as that is for Drew Brees to do and how considerate it is to the team, and he understands that he's doing this for the fans, man, and the ability to the team to be able to move forward post Drew Brees, and that's cool and all. But they're $108 million over the cap before they sign their rookie. So let's tack 10 on. That's $118 million. Thanks for the $25 million. But we still have $94 million or whatever the hell it is dollars to lose somewhere. So I think guys like Michael Thomas, who they were rumored to be interested in trading last year, and Lattimore, they're going to have to blow this up unless everybody on the team decides to take a 20% decrease in pay with some sort of stipulation. I don't know what kind of language could be in it. It's not my area of expertise. But, I don't know. I just don't see a collection of individuals being willing to take 20% less so fucking the Saints can field a team. I don't know. I think they're going to have to blow it up, man.
Benjamin coming in with Super Chat says, is it possible to trade for MT or Lattimore from New Orleans for a third or fourth? They're in cap hell and they may look to get under the cap. I would say, yeah, it's possible. Michael Thomas, I think, would actually cost them cap. Let me see what his deal is.
I think you're right on that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that sounds familiar to me. The Lattimore one seems like the one that's more likely.
So they can gain cap. So I am wrong. So Michael Thomas, if they trade him, hold on. Oh, no. Okay, so if they trade him before June 1st, they lose an additional $1.2 million. So if they could get a high pick, that would be one where they'd be like, okay, I'll take a first-round pick for Michael Thomas because he's a great player, and we're going to have to eat some salary cap too. Why would we do that? There's no reason for us to trade him at that point. If they can designate him a post-June 1st cut or a post-June 1st trade, that changes things a little bit because his now all of a sudden they save $12.8 million in salary cap. So that could be something maybe just before the season that they decide to make a move. With Lattimore, I agree with Matt and Green Bean, you guys talking about cornerback being a huge need for the New York Jets. We need edge rusher, but I think between cornerback and right tackle, when we're talking about those two guys, Lattimore is the guy I'm definitely keeping an eye on from the New Orleans Saints. Green Bean, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, let me ask you, Ryan, just on that. I'm sorry. We're slightly delayed, so it's not all me being an asshole that's cutting you off. Some of it is, but some of it is also there's a delay.
That's all right.
What do you guys know? And I just didn't retain this. Is Lattimore more of a zone corner or a man? Do we know? Is he just doesn't matter kind of a thing? Is he that good? But because I was reading a lot on Saleh and the types of defenses that he likes with his cornerback. It's really a zone that does at times leave his cornerbacks in a man situation, but it's really a zone defense. Do you know if that's Lattimore's strength or no? I don't.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure what Lattimore's strength would be. Let me see. I'll pull up his stats. Give me just a second.
I'm trying to think of the Saints D from the last. Who was their coordinator?
Well, their secondary coach was Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, right.
All right. Let's see if I can figure this out. Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, it's funny because I put up my latest podcast is about my best case scenario offseason. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I brought up was exactly that, the potential of trading, like we were just talking about, but using one of those picks that we have accumulated to try to get Lattimore. And I did all this research on him, and I don't know. I can't seem. I'm like that. I don't even know if I saw anything about that with him. I feel like I'm dropping the ball, but anyway, I would like to know because it's an interesting point.
Yeah, if you guys in the chat know, I'm trying to do some Googling on my side. I don't exactly know where I'm looking right now. I got so many windows open, my computer's gonna hate me. Do we got anything popping off in the chat? You guys seeing? Lockdown man corner is what NY Jets Florida says. Yeah, we'll go with that. I always thought of him as a man corner, but maybe I could be wrong on that. Who else we got in here? I saw some other ones pop in here. God. Benjamin. There's one more in here. I'll find you. Isaiah, there we go. All right, Isaiah says, each year or two. Hold on, let me think. Figure out what it says. I think he's saying a prospect has a meteoric rise, such as Joe Burrow and Wilson. Assume the Jets stick with Darnold. Who do you see having a rise in the 2022 draft? I'll be honest, I have not done my research on the 2022 draft. I know there is that USC quarterback that people are in love with, and that seems like just a broken record at this point. I wouldn't want to touch any piece of him, the USC quarterback, after seeing what happened with our boy Sammy D.
Don't do it. Don't judge a prospect by what school he goes to, Ryan.
I know I shouldn't, but I'm just being so jaded from everything I've seen. Yeah. My buddy John is in love with Slovis from USC. Big time Slovis fan. And he's just like, dude, we should totally roll with Sam this year and just roll into next year's draft. I was like, well, if he's as good as he is and Sam plays, I would think he's got to play better than he's played the last few years. Yeah, you can't really be worse. So you're going to have $80 million in cap space, help, plus a bunch of high draft picks. And you think you're not going, and an easier schedule and a new coaching staff, we're going to wind up in no man's land. We're going to be 6-10, 7-9, and not picking, high up. We're going to have 3 first-round picks. We're going to have to trade 2 of them to get up to go get the quarterback. I don't know. Green Bean, remember, man, what are your thoughts?
A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. You cannot, you cannot plan in any detail that far ahead. You can't do it, man. You can't count on things like that because if you need so many factors to go correctly in order for that type of a plan to work. And what ends up happening is you pull exactly what we pulled in 2017 when we passed on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes for a safety that can't catch. And then, it's like here, you know what I mean? Now here we are again. There's another strong quarterback class. We are at the second overall pick, which we have not been this high in over 20 years, 23 years or something like that. All the sucking we did, we haven't been this high in the draft. So you have to consider that if we win 3 games next year, like Ryan just said, we're trading picks to get up to get this guy. So I don't like that type of stuff. I'm not 100% against rolling with Sam at this point. And I'm not even going to get into why. It's madness at this point. I still have to organize my thoughts, but I have this shit. I have something rolling around in here. I'm like, and I'll organize it and tell you guys another time. But so if we're going to do that, like, wouldn't it be neat if we found out that Joe Douglas never had any intention of trading Sam Darnold? This is all him working the system. He's going to maximize the number 2 pick and blow the doors off the place with, trading back 2 times in the top 10 for these quarterbacks. And he really likes Mac Jones and wants Mac Jones to compete with or something, just something like that. He's going to keep Sam Darnold. I think that would be really cool, really interesting. But again, I think when you take away all the crazy, we're at the number 2 pick. It's a strong quarterback class. Get a quarterback. Like, that's how, when you pull away all the fun, you know what I mean? It's just, so I don't know. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. So that's my thoughts on that.
Matt, what are your thoughts on, possibly rolling with Sam Darnold? And who do you see rising in next year's draft? Or what are your thoughts on next year's draft?
Green Bean went full galaxy brain on us, and that kind of just that put me in a pretzel, not going to lie. I don't know where we're at. But the 2022 draft is so far away. I'm not even there yet. Can we get through 2021 first? Rolling with Sam is probably option 4 for me. I would trading for Watson, then Wilson, then Fields, then Sam. I would put it in that order. I don't think next year's quarterback class is as good as this one. So, like, why mess around? You have the number 2 pick. You're not going to have to give up assets to move back up. Like, just get your guy this year, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't want to get cute. You can't get cute with the quarterback. It's like the idea of trading down. Like, I would love to trade down from 2 to 4, get a first-round pick next year, and take our quarterback at 4 because, a quarterback at 4 is still a highly drafted quarterback. And no, you got your guy at 2. Take your guy at 2. Don't get cute with it. Make the right pick. Mr. Luda Krishna, thank you for the super chat, says, wouldn't an offense based on running and motions and hitting quick routes work well with Fields, who is accurate and can add in his rushing as well? I think you can see that with both quarterbacks, Fields and Wilson. Now, from what I've heard in the scouting department, Fields has a little bit less RAM, little more loading time, a little bit more of a buffer period in his route recognition. So I think that's where Wilson kind of gets the edge. If you're doing a quick route, you want someone with a quick decision-making process. Now, both of them can run. I do think Wilson is not a statue in the pocket by any stretch of the imagination. Fields, I think at 6'3", I feel like he's a bigger 6'3". I think he's like over 20 pounds heavier than Wilson, and that can play to his benefit. Like, if you can get a 6'3" version of Russell Wilson, Fields is a home run pick then. That's a no-brainer. But if you're saying that maybe you have to worry about, the quick decision making, and is there a little bit of a loading time on Fields, then I think that's where you start to get into some interesting questions as well. Green Bean, any thoughts on what you've seen from Fields in terms of why people aren't talking about him at number 2 compared to maybe someone like Wilson?
Well, I think the number one reason why Fields is not being talked about right now and Wilson is because Wilson's newer to talk about. That's the main reason. It's a long off season. We still have 3 months until the draft. What's the date? February 16th, March, April, May. We still have over 3 months until the draft. They need to talk about stuff. Fields has already been talked about by these guys, I mean. So I just think it's a cyclical pattern. I happen to like Fields more now than I did mid-season. I just started watching Fields like around those games. He had a couple bad game stretch, and I was like, what is everybody talking about with this guy? And they were legit, sloppy games by him. And I just, so I think that he's a good quarterback. Like Matt said, if they decided to draft Fields at 2, I would have complete confidence that that's the guy they like. That's the guy they want to build around, and I would be happy about it. I just, from what I've seen and everything I'm learning about, it's really the Shanahan offense, but what we're imagining LaFleur is going to be like has Zach Wilson as a stronger, more appropriate fit. So that's just what we think. But again, I just think that they're not talking about Fields because Wilson's exciting to talk about. Nobody was even talking about this guy 3 months ago. So it's like, holy shit, look at this guy. And so they've already dug into Fields and all that. I think you'll see it'll come back, especially after Fields' pro day. You'll see.
Matt, what are your thoughts on people liking Wilson more than Fields and why Fields has kind of fallen off?
Good question. Prospect fatigue. Wilson with the meteoric rise is just an interesting factor. I think that I really do think people are overthinking Fields a little bit. So I don't think that's completely, out of left field or anything like that. But as far as Fields' fit in this offense, I agree with what you said to start this segment. His decision-making process is a touch on the slower side than Wilson. So I think if you're looking for someone who gets the ball, rolls out, hits the receiver quick, Wilson's your guy. Fields, if you want something that takes a little bit of time to develop and push the ball down the field, I think that would be a great fit for him. Again, I'm not anti Fields at all. I think you could absolutely make it work with him, but for what the Jets are specifically looking to do, I think Wilson's the best option for them.
Yeah, it seems like he's more equipped to what Matt Ryan was, what Jimmy Garoppolo was. That style of quarterback just seems to fall in line. Now, if you can get someone that has, I would say Wilson has more wheels than both Jimmy G and Matt Ryan, so that's kind of exciting. I still want Watson, personally. Fields is exciting, so if you can add some RPO into that, I would be all about it. Mutt Vials, our good old multivitamin, says, "Evening, everyone. Ryan house tour soon." And anyone think we should take a swing at Watt? And if we cut Crowder, should we trade for Cooks or Thielen? Ooh, that's a lot to get into, Mutt Vials, and I really like a lot of what you're getting there. So house tour, it's very empty. I'm going from a one-bedroom apartment to this house, and it's not a lot to look at right now. There's a lot of spackle holes, not a whole lot going on there. In terms of J.J. Watt, I like J.J. Watt. I would like the Jets to be rumored to want to get J.J. Watt because I think that shows Deshaun Watson, hey, look, we want to bring your buddy in here too. And, come fight for us, that sort of thing. Now, that being said, I don't want the Jets to really go after J.J. Watt. It doesn't seem like a situation I want. Not that I don't like J.J. Watt. I think he's a great person. I think he'd be a great leader in this team. But how much is he going to want in terms of money? If he's going to take a pay cut, I think he's going to the Steelers. I don't think he takes a pay cut to come to the Jets. Now, he did post a thing on his, Instagram, I think, that said all gas, no brakes. And people were like, oh my God, the Jets and J.J. Watt, and what's going to happen? Is he coming here? That whole thing. So, Greenby, what are your thoughts on J.J. Watt? Do you think the all gas, no brakes post had anything to do with Robert Saleh, or was it just a popular NFL expression? And then we'll jump into the Crowder, Cook, Thielen thing after we talk about J.J. Watt.
Yeah, well, let me just make sure everybody knows that that's not Salah's saying. Salah's saying is all gas, no brake. It's not brakes. So it's actually different. So he's saying something totally different.
You're a grammar Nazi.
Yeah, well, it's the truth.
Stop
I'm
it.
saying,
I want to
like,
be excited for big name players.
oh, okay,
I want to be
okay,
irrational.
then I think there's a lot to it. Then, man, I think Watt is interested in coming and not getting a ring with us for the last 2 years of his career. I think it's a good move by him. Yeah, I don't know. I think Watt's going to Green Bay, dude. Or maybe how cool would it be for him? I mean, to play with his brother. That shit. It doesn't happen all the time. So he has an opportunity. But I don't. Again, we got to make sure that we do know. Sorry, Ryan, that the Saleh saying is all gas, no brake. This saying actually comes out of the University of Texas. They use that all the time. Ask all gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. So it's different. It's a different thing. Sorry.
Matt, your thoughts on J.J. Watt?
I think he's ring chasing at this point. I'd be stunned if he goes to the Jets. I really would be. I don't think. Let's see. Chiefs, Packers, supposedly interested.
Browns, the
The Browns, Titans, Steelers make sense to play with his brothers. I Jets would be so far down that list. I don't see it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense. Now, Mutviles, also says, if we cut Crowder, should we trade for Cooks or Thielen? Let me pull this up. I would say no to Cooks. That's like an easy one off the bat for me. But let me get the numbers up just to see what they would be. So Brandon Cooks, if he is traded, would be a $12 million cap hit. So he'd basically be losing $1.5 million and swapping Jamison Crowder for Brandon Cooks. Cooks is exciting. Like, he's fast and he could burn down the field. So I get if you want to, like, do that. It's not really... I don't want to trade for Brandon Cooks. If he gets cut because they need to save cap space, because that seems more likely than him getting traded. Like, I don't want to trade for Brandon Cooks. I'd rather keep Crowder. In terms of Thielen, let's see. What does his contract look like? Where's Minnesota? There's Minnesota. So Thielen's contract would be, he's 31 for this season. His contract would be 11, 12, 13, and 15-4 over the next 4 years. And you can cut him after any one of those seasons. I think there's a good shot he winds up getting cut anyway. I don't know if I'd want to trade for him. I think in terms of the wide receiver market, there's so many options that the Jets could go with in free agency. I think it would be silly to trade for any one of them. Matt, what are your thoughts on Thielen or Cooks?
Yeah, I would be very surprised. I don't think either of those guys are going to be Joe Douglas type of players that he's going to look to bring in. I think a free agent or someone in the draft maybe, but I don't see him giving up a draft asset to get one of those two.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Brandon Cooks or Adam Thielen?
Yeah, I feel the same way. Cooks is injured a little bit more than we would like as well. It's funny, Brandon Cooks was actually the guy I was really hoping we drafted that year when we took Calvin Pryor. He was the makes too much sense pick for us. And we just took a safety yet again out of the league in 4 years, that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see Brandon Cooks as the guy that we're looking for. Thielen, maybe. But there is a specific type of receiver that they're looking for. We already have the tall possession type, even though he has more than that, and Denzel Mims, and they like that Ayuk kind of thing. But Cooks, I just think that he's injured too much. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like that's the case with him. He's very good. I love his game, but again, it's like the Fuller thing. It's like, why are we bringing guys in here that can't seem to finish the season every year? Remember when I was a kid, everybody on the team finished the season. It's like everybody played 16 games. You had like one or two guys. Now it's like everybody's hurt all the time. I don't know what this is.
Cooks
weird.
to me feels almost like Sammy Watkins. Like really exciting player to watch, but doesn't stay on the field that long. Like so let's look at games started in his career. 7, 12, 12, 15, 16, 14, 15. So the last 4 years have been reasonable. You know, missed a game or two.
Yeah.
The early part of his career maybe dinged him a little bit more. Touchdown wise, 3, 9, 8, 7, 5, 2, 6. I don't know. I mean, he's an interesting player. I just don't want to trade for a guy. I think it's silly. I think there's too many guys in the free agent market to worry about doing that.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know. Yeah, that's not as bad as I was thinking. So maybe I don't know.
RJ McPot 720. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, "Are we concerned with the level of competition argument against Wilson? Who's the last great quarterback from the independent conference?" Don't say Montana. Steve Young was from BYU. So, like, I don't know what that division looked like then, but, like, I don't know. Matt, you look like you're got some gears spinning there.
Yeah, my brain's trying to compute that. Would you consider Wentz's start of his career? Because North Dakota State's a small school.
Yeah, I mean, Wyoming's small.
Wyoming small. Texas Tech, there's not a lot of quarterbacks coming out of there before Pat Mahomes.
Sure.
Russell
Right.
Wilson, Wisconsin. That's why I'm a subscriber to the don't judge a prospect off of the school and look at the actual player itself.
Yeah. Green Bean, what do you think about the level of competition argument when it comes to Wilson?
I think it's real. I think you have to factor that stuff in. I mean, you know, like we've had this, you know, similar discussions before. It's not the number one thing, but I think, like, I don't know, I think it's very important to see where people came from and what the tendencies of those programs, what they instill in their players, and those types of, like, those trends. It's really important. It's important to have that in your mix. That said, I do agree. It's more about the player than anything. And people can come from anywhere and come out and shoot up like a rocket. And, you know, maybe they weren't that great in high school, so they weren't recruited. And, you know, they ended up in a small junior college. And, you know, who knows? But I don't know. I don't have that kind of information in this sieve-like brain, like where every quarterback of all time, what school they came from. I don't have that. So I don't know. That's a good question, though, to start, you know, to think about.
Our buddy Max coming in with a super chat says, "I feel like the Jets are making a stupid decision with Juju. I believe this since he dances on opponents' logos, which is just disrespectful. Juju doesn't seem to make sense to me. It seems like that is a diva type of personality that Joe Douglas sort of got rid of with Jamal Adams. Not saying they're the same type of person per se, but I think he wants guys that are all about football, and I think Juju comes off as a guy that's not quite all about football. Like Curtis Samuel, to me, seems like he makes a heck of a lot more sense than Juju. Matt, what are your thoughts?
What decision do they make?
Well, that's just it. So maybe he feels like the Jets are going to make a stupid decision with Juju and bring him in. Or maybe he says they're not going to make, or maybe he says they're going to make a stupid decision and not bring Juju in because he believes he dances on logos or whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think Juju for us doesn't make sense unless we're rolling with Sam and he loves the guy. But that seems like you're committing money to a guy that, you know, you may not be committing to Sam.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think Juju is going to be very high up on Joe Douglas's board. I really don't.
Green Bean, anything to add on the Juju front?
Yeah, well, and I'm reading the question, like the report was that, and another baloney report, by the way, but it was just, the report was that the Jets have Schuster and Will Fuller at the top of their list, right? So I think he's saying that would be a stupid decision if we did that because he's disrespectful. I happen to agree, and I think I agree with you guys. I think that Juju Smith-Schuster, whatever we're hearing about this stuff is what Joe Douglas wants us to hear. I believe he has that type of control over what's leaked out of this program. This is a professional program now. It's going to take a while for us to actually believe that, you know what I mean? But there's no leaks like there used to be. There's no Manish Mehta, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Like if there's something coming out, I believe that Joe Douglas wants it out there for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I don't think that we're going to end up signing Juju Smith-Schuster. I would be surprised, man, if that was the guy.
Shout out to our boy Ali, Loyal Media Sports Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to him. He is the main guy, the guy behind Loyal NY Jet Fans Instagram page. So make sure you hit him up with a sub. One Joe Cav 73, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, okay, here it is. For the last time, Zach Wilson is the next Ken Stabler, a right-handed version. He's the same height, weight, great arm, mobile, gamer, winner. I hate player comparisons. I'm so like, I love doing them. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoy the whole, compare a guy and, oh, he could be this guy in XYZ generation. It's so tough to do that. It's so tough because so much of these quarterbacks' careers just hinge on the organization they're drafted by, the coaching staff they're around, the players they have around them. It's so tough. But I do think that Zach Wilson, when you watch his tape, there is a wow factor. You're like, wow, the ball definitely pops off his hand. It's definitely impressive. Green Bean, can you give us any sort of insight on what you think about Ken Stabler and Zach Wilson maybe being compared to him?
Wow, what a grab, man. That's good. I met Ken Stabler when I was younger. So that there's that. I can tell you this about him. He was very nice. He was very, very nice. He signed a little piece of scrap paper that I had, and he said, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. I would have to say, if he knows that kind of stuff about the two, I have never considered comparing the two, and I'll be real honest. I'm not up on Ken Stabler really, so I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'm sorry, man. I don't have too much information on Stabler these days.
Sorry, it's all right. I got nothing on Stabler. I cannot contribute. That is way before my time in terms of fanhood as a Jet fan, and I think Matt's nodding along. All right, let's see. Max, our buddy, coming in with another super chat. Thank you so much, Max. Says, listen, I get it that Juju is talented, but he is not a wide receiver one, and if Juju gets signed, if the Jets sign Juju, it's a huge mistake since he is not a wide receiver one. Yeah, look, that's the whole reason we don't want to bring in Juju. I could understand if you could say, okay, we could get Juju for what Crowder costs. Okay, fine. You know what? I can see an argument, making that. You get a younger player, you get someone who's played with Sam, you get someone who could be, a really good player, a solid, number 2 at the very least. But look, I don't want Juju. He doesn't strike me as a number 1 wide receiver. I would rather keep Crowder and go after Robinson or Galladay or Godwin. I don't know. I just don't see Juju being the guy that I want to tie this ship to. Let me see if I can see anything else in the chat that you guys are kind of getting at. Ooh. NY Jets Florida says, what about Nick Foles? No. Absolutely not. We have so many better options. Why would you do Nick Foles? That was just getting me mad.
Come on.
What about Nick Foles? Did you see the fake report today that the Bears traded for Wentz? They gave 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and Nick Foles to the Eagles. Did you see that?
Could you imagine? They could probably – I bet they could – if they traded – see, I think that the Eagles would do it for a first-round pick. If they could get any first-round pick, whether it be the Bears or the Colts, they would do it. I think the Bears – I believe they are 1 pick behind the Colts. I could be wrong on that. Then maybe they throw in Big Dick Nick and they're like, oh, we get our Super Bowl MVP back. That's our guy. No, I want nothing to do with Nick Foles, and I'm really hoping that. I'm not even gonna feed into this. No way Joe Douglas does this. Not at all. Trust Benny says Juju played with Sam. That's the only way it makes quote unquote sense. Completely agree. I don't think there's any way that Juju makes sense unless you're trying to roll with Sam. If we sign Juju, do you think there's a stronger indication that we are rolling with Sam, Matt?
I don't know. Maybe, but I don't think they're going to be signing guys based on trying to get Sam Darnold revived in his 4th year. I don't know. That's just
Green Bean, do you think there's anything, if we sign Juju in free agency, does that tip our hand? Does that mean we're rolling with Sam in moving forward?
Well, I think that we'll definitely hear that it is for sure, man. But there is a connection there, you know what I mean? So, the interviews last year with, they asked him what he thinks of Sam, if I'd love to play with Sam again. All those types of things were said this very year or last year. So I think that it could indicate that, but I don't think if we sign Schuster, it means Sam Darnold is staying. But I think it would be a positive move toward that without being that. Does that make any sense? How'd you feel about that?
I don't know. Big Bopper comes in. He says, you guys could even sign Trubisky to a friendly contract after all those trades and stacking your offense for future in the draft. I want no part of Mitch Trubisky. That is like, the Jets have so many other options. Why on earth would we go with Mitch Trubisky? Like, the worst case scenario for me is rolling it back with Sam Darnold. Like, it's Watson, it's Wilson or Fields, and then Sam Darnold. Like, I'm not really considering, I'm not rolling with Derek Carr or, insert Carson Wentz or I'm not doing that. I think this is, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. What would you do, Matt, if the Jets decided to move on with Mitch Trubisky?
I don't know. I think I'd probably become like a Carolina Panthers YouTuber or something like that and just roll with Joe Brady and Matt Rule down there.
Oh, God. I do like the Panthers. I would follow you. I would still... you could be on the panel still. Greenby, what are your thoughts on Trubisky being the next Jets quarterback?
Yeah. I do the exact same thing that I did when we signed and hired Adam Gase. I would know the future. I would tell everybody about the future with my crystal ball. And I'd wait it out, man. I would lose some faith in Joe Douglas, though. You guys know I'm a big cheerleader for that cat right now. And he would lose me with that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd root for him, though. I'd be rooting.
I would root for... God, that would be so frustrating. Jake Cole says, Zach Wilson was a Patriots fan growing up. We can't have that. Here's what I will say to this, and it's a sad thing as a Jets fan, but Tom Brady was a Hall of Fame quarterback for 20 years. Any kid playing the position of quarterback looked up to Tom Brady. So you're just going to have... It's the same way with, Peyton Manning or whoever you want to go with, looking up to Joe Montana or looking up to insert, whatever, John Elway. Like, everyone's going to like the one quarterback at that time because he's the big name, and that's who you want to emulate your game after. You want to be the guy that won 7 Super Bowls. Did you hear this stat? Sorry to go back on this. We haven't had a show since the Super Bowl. Friggin' Tom Brady is statistically more likely to be in a Super Bowl than Steph Curry is of making a 3-point shot. Like, Tom Brady has a 50% shot in his 20 years of playing, has made it to the Super Bowl 10 times. Steph Curry's field goal, 3-point field goal percentage, 43%. It's like, what? Right. What kind of stat is that? Do you guys have any fear in Zach Wilson, being a Patriots fan, and does that affect his draft stock for you, Matt?
Undraftable.
Yeah.
What a jackwagon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. We have to make a stand somewhere. We have to make a stand somewhere, man. Where do we stand if not here?
Dude, it's rough. It sucks. I don't want to see him as a Patriot fan, but if he was a Jet fan, we'd have to judge his judgment. Clearly, I don't know. I don't get it. For me, the only thing that could make me nervous about Zach Wilson is I understand the level of competition, and I think the leadership thing, if there's enough smoke around it, could be concerning. Now Matt's telling me something, and he's going to let something drop on Thursday that, it may not be as big of a deal as possible. So I'm really looking forward to watching that and seeing how that plays out, because I That would put my mind at ease. Can you give me any little bit more tidbits, Matt? Any little sprinklings on Zach Wilson?
Do you want a positive or a negative?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Am I greedy if I say both?
Yeah, I'm not getting both, so I'll give you a positive. So the guy that I talked to, Jay Drew, he covers BYU sports for a newspaper out in Salt Lake City, Utah. He said in his 30 years around sports, he has never met someone more dedicated to becoming better and studying film and stuff like that. So take that however you want.
That makes me feel fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, I did say I wanted both. Now, what's the bad side? Give me something bad. Give me something juicy. He's a Mormon.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
He's got multiple wives. He brought 2 BYU cheerleaders to prom. Look at that guy.
Bastard.
So this interview isn't all just like positive propaganda. It's an honest discussion. So I'll give you one of the negatives. He talks about his interactions with the media, and he has a very like playful kind of personality. Like he like give it back and forth. And his thing was he isn't sure if that would go over well in a market like New York with his interactions or like banter back and forth with the media.
If that's all I have to worry about, that's okay.
Well, you think I'm giving you the big one?
No. You can't. You got to keep your breadcrumbs for yourself. I got to watch that friggin' video, Matt. I'm going to have my notifications turned on. If you guys want to check out that video that Matt's referring to, it drops on Thursday. His link is in the description down below, so make sure you follow and get that. Angel says, Matt, have your balls ever thanked you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every day. Manscaped, Jets 20 promo code. Get 20% off and free shipping.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Tony Lee says, how do you feel about Kyle Juszczyk? I'm going to say that wrong. The fullback from the 49ers. I've watched some 49er games film. I love the way they used him in that offense. I think that is a strong possibility that he ends up as a New York Jet. I think it's here or San Francisco for him. I don't know. Matt, do you think Juszczyk comes out east?
Maybe. It's possible. It seems like he would be a great option.
Juszczyk.
Juszczyk.
Juszczyk. Words. Not good.
You're running on a very low amount of sleep right now. You had a big move. We're not going to kill you over the pronunciation of the 49ers fullback. Right. I think it would be a good addition. Like they've been using Trevon Wesco, who's playing out of position as fullback, and they haven't really had a good fullback since Tony Richardson. So maybe they take a swing on one. Why not?
Green Bean, your thoughts on the fullback?
Well, I think he's great. You know, I was listening to something today that said he is actually very close to the running game coordinator, though. So if it's going to be splitting between us and the Niners, he's probably going to be inclined to stay there, and they don't want to lose him. He's expensive, though. As far as fullbacks go, I mean, I think the next highest fullback is like $1 million, and he makes, what is it, $7 million a year, something like that. So I don't know. I tell you what, man, I remember the days of Gerald Sowell and Richie Anderson, and those guys were badass for our offense, man.
BJ
Askew, right? You know, so our offenses have been predicated on having a fullback for a long time. It's just kind of an antiquated thought pattern at this point. But the Niners use him and use him well, and he's a talented player. If he's willing to come for a reasonable deal, I think it would be exciting. If they want him, man, bring him. You know, that's how I see it.
It would certainly be interesting. NY Jets Florida says, if anyone wants to man up here, I will donate $100 to someone's favorite charity if Darnold is traded. If Darnold stays, you donate $100 to my charity. Any takers? Yeah, okay. I'll do this. So NY Jets Florida. Let's do it. Let's do this. I'll donate $100 to your favorite charity if Sam is not traded. If Sam is traded, I'm going to say, I don't know, we got to come up with a charity. Maybe we do the charity of whatever our draft pick or whoever the quarterback is that comes in, usually they have some type of charity.
Yeah, we'll donate it to the Mormons.
Yeah, well, it'll be like,
yeah. They need it. I
don't
was out
know.
in Utah. You got to see their palaces, man, out in Salt Lake City for all the Mormon churches and stuff. Dude, they're like, look like the Taj Mahal. The ones I saw, anyway. I can't speak to all of them. Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
Lots of money out there, buddy. The Mormons are not messing around.
Jason Wang says, there are reports that Wilson has character problems and can't lead a team. Geno killed the Jets with his lack of leadership and ability. Is there any similarities to this? If the character concerns are a problem with Wilson, which it doesn't seem like they are, I know there's going to be a lot of smoke, and I think it's going to be a popular talking point for Jet fans. I think it's a good way for columnists to get their clicks and whatnot. I'm sure we'll be talking about this ad nauseum leading up to the draft. I don't see Wilson and Geno Smith as similar entities. I think a lot of what you got out of Geno Smith came from Bailey and Tavon Austin. Two guys, one guy was taken, 6th overall or 8th overall in Tavon Austin, and then Bailey, I think, was taken in the 3rd round by the Rams. So two really highly touted wide receivers. I don't know who on that BYU team outside of Zach Wilson on the offensive side of the ball is going to be, who are we talking about as an NFL talent? I have no idea. It's like Zach Wilson and what is it? Their tight end, I think, is really good. I don't know. Matt, what are your thoughts on Wilson and Geno Smith, possible comparisons leadership-wise?
That's funny. I'm gonna save that one for the interview. I hate to be the dick who's just promoting my thing coming up on Thursday, but Jay Drew gives a very good answer and insight onto why that's completely bogus. He genuinely laughed at Rich Samini's take, so there's a hint.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Zach Wilson and possibly comparing him to Geno Smith and how that killed the Jets?
Yeah. I think I'm going to watch and listen to Matt O'Leary's show. That's what I'm going to do. Geno's, I never would have thought to compare those two. Why? Has Zach Wilson gotten punched in the fucking face by his teammates in his own locker room lately? Is that what happened?
Yeah, didn't give back that money that IK wanted. He wanted it back. It was the plane ticket money, right? Is that how that went?
It was $600, right? They're they're making literally millions of dollars, dude. Give them the $600. What is this? He never thought that somebody was going to do that. He never in a million years thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, no.
He's probably trying to punk him out and everything, like, what are you going to do about it or something, pop. That was the end. He was our starter, man. That was the end.
Dude, I thought for sure, I was like, you know what? This is the year. If there's going to be a year for Geno, it's going to be this year. And he gets cracked. Right. And I'm like, wow, that changed everything. Like, he's gone. Like, there's no way they're holding on to him. They didn't get to see him. Contracts coming up. Had to be out of there.
When you look at our ridiculous history, dude, from the butt fumble to the fake spike to this thing, it's just like no other team compares with this type of stuff. Yeah, the Detroit Lions just suck for many. That's fine. That's just normal suctitude. This kneecap thing is pretty good. They're working on it over there. They're trying to catch up. But, dude, the things we've endured as a fan base, our skin, I'm surprised that we care about anything. Because, the fact that we're still so into this, with all the crap that happens, nobody endures this stuff like us. Nobody.
Dude, we've been punching bags, this entire Jet fan base. It's absolutely brutal all the time. And I'm just tired of it. I just want to turn around. I want Robert Saleh to just give us good vibes, and Joe Douglas just rainbows and butterflies. Mono Man Darnold at your service says, any collab with my man Chris the Entertainer talking sports. Yeah, I'll be talking with Chris. I was busy moving the last week, and Chris and I had talked about getting a regular thing going each week. So I got to see if he's still interested in that. That was a few months ago we were talking about it, so I don't know where that's at. But I like Chris, so hopefully we'll definitely be linking up with him soon. What else you guys talking about in the chat? Mike Allstott.
Oh, that was the fullback talk. Yeah, Allstott was great, man. Remember him?
He was fantastic. Loved watching him.
Who was the guy
David
on Dallas?
Gerard. Hey, Green
Remember
Bean
that guy?
Jets fan. I know Matt O'Leary is a country music guy. Tell him I'll sell him a Zach Brown band signed hat and give all the money to St. Jude's. I'll do it 100,000%.
Hey, Matt.
How much is a Zach Brown band hat?
Hey, Matt. David Gerard has a guy.
My level of interest in Zach Brown is not very high. But I am all in for charity. I don't know. What are we trying to do? I'm not really very much interested in the Zach Brown signed hat. He's kind of a D-Nos. I'm out on Zach Brown.
Oh, God.
That's funny.
Let's see. Eddie says, I'm for punching any QB named Wilson. That's aggressive. Eddie,
what?
That's not very nice.
Why? What did he do?
Why do you want to? What did Zach do? What
Russell
a jerk!
Wilson. What did he do? What did Russell Wilson do?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. What other Wilsons we got?
Right.
The tennis ball.
The
Screw you.
The basketball, right, from Shipwrecked or whatever that was. Castaway.
Oh, it's Wilson. The volleyball from Castaway.
Volleyball. That's what it is.
Oh, green bean. The Dirty Meatball says, no doubt, Darnold gives the Jets a better chance to win more games next year than Wilson or Fields.
Based on what? What are we basing this on?
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm talking about. How we can't do this for another 2 months. I can't do it.
How are we supposed to do 3 more months, 2.5 more months of this damn show and not, I don't know.
I know. It's funny though. Matt's right. Like, what are we talking about? Like, where is it? Where is the? I mean, we have lots of reasons why he sucked, but none of them mean that he's not gonna suck. You know what I mean? None of them. If they're taken away. Like, yes, Gase, yes, the offensive line, yes, I do believe that we didn't do him any favors, but there's very little reason to think that if we keep him, he's going to somehow be great. Very little reason other than emotions and wanting him to, which we all wanted him to.
Yes.
But Matt's right, dude.
Sure.
I love that Matt just did that. That's fucking great.
Oh my God. Green Bean was right, man. The last couple of weeks, it's just like, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like after finally 3 months of this Darnold debate, I think it's finally broken me.
I get why Joe Beningo goes wild. Like, you start hearing comments, I'm like, dirty meatball, you're getting me angry. Mark Orlando, coming in with Super Chat, says, please, someone tell me the name of the guy who came out of BYU with character concerns. I don't know.
Jim McMahon.
You want to hear something funny?
Maybe.
Sure. I would love to hear something funny. What kind of question is that?
Yeah. It has nothing to do with Jim McMahon, and I'm sorry. But the other day I was like, I try to answer a lot of the comments and stuff under the videos and everything, and I was just doing my thing, and my wife walked by and she stopped, and she backed up, and she says, are you really talking to someone named Dirty Meatball? I say, oh, yeah, he's good. He's all right. You just saw it, Dirty Meatball. I'm like, yeah, it's my buddy over there. I like him.
I love the names that pop up. Dirty Meatball is a pretty interesting one.
It's good. Fat Gandalf's a good one.
Fat Gandalf's a great one. God, now you got me. Now I got to go through the chat and just sort of see who's
good. Everybody change your name to something funny.
Everyone change your name to something ridiculous because that's exactly.
John Salty Nuts Naughty.
The laughter. That's not very funny.
It's fun.
Oh, there's this one guy named Green Bean. He's got this really cool picture of a beard. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's a beard. I wonder where that comes from. Freeze beard.
Freeze beard. Ryan's Jets logo is backwards. It's blasphemous. It's backwards because of Zoom. The regular videos, it'll be regular.
Zoom
screws everything up. It's all backwards. It's actually weird because I see myself like when I live stream this way, but when I do my regular videos, I'm like, I'm flip-flopped.
But why is Matt's not reversed?
Ooh,
There's
Look
an
at that
option
on
I
the
think.
YouTube video.
maybe.
What the hell is that?
No, actually,
Matt,
he ordered that jet sign custom. He got it reversed.
Yeah, it's
No,
actually.
I think
Yeah.
it's
It's actually backwards. He put that level of thought into this.
of course.
I think it's something to do with the host. Like I think I'm the host because your stuff in the background, Green Bean, is the correct way. Mine goes backwards because of something stupid. I don't really know. Doesn't. The internet's a very, very hard thing to understand. Something about pipes and bandwidth and flipping cameras and selfie sticks and that sort of stuff. All right, we got about 5 minutes left. Let's see what other comments you got going on in here.
You want to see a tour of my RV? I go to see all the wires. You guys can't see all the wires. There's all these wires. I'm penned in right now. If I pick up my computer and show, I have to do a whole bunch of stuff. I have to unwrap. I'm wrapped in wires right now.
He's basically the guy from Anaconda, just getting like coiled up.
Wires.
I ain't got nothing. Ooh, here's another one. Tony Lee saying, I saw this rumor pop up. He goes, sign Corey Linsley. Is he the center or the guard from the Packers? Center. Then kick McGovern to guard. Still down for signing Thuney. I think having a top center will help a young quarterback like Mangold did for Sanchez. We've been trying to do that for our young quarterback for like the last 3 off seasons. So like saying signing Corey Linsley or Linsley or however you pronounce that last name to just plug in as the starter. We signed a top 10 center in McGovern last season. Like I feel like there's got to be something tougher than this. But I do think bringing in Thuney, having McGovern at guard, and then having another center, or even having McGovern at center and another guard, whatever you want to do, I think is a significant upgrade over what we dealt with this past year for our interior offensive linemen. I would like to see McGovern in a new offense, I think, before we kind of give up on him at center. Are you for or against Green Bean signing Corey Linsley?
I'm not against bringing in a center if you want to move McGovern over. That's fine. But I don't think he's a liability, man. I mean, dude, he's a top 10 center. He comes to Gase, the player destroyer, and he has a rough first half of the season. I don't see that as an issue, man. I just don't. He settled down and he was playing well, but this offense is built more like the type of player that he is. And I think you're going to love McGovern. Dude, he was my favorite free agent signing, period, last year. And I'm really happy with him. I'm not against him moving to guard. Like, if we can get a premier center, like we have that opportunity, maybe even in the draft, like Josh Myers or Creed Humphrey or somebody, Drake Jackson. If we can get one of those guys in and it just makes sense to move McGovern over, that's fine. But I think we already have an offensive line position taken. Like, McGovern's good. We don't have to fill him. Just like with Crowder, we don't have to fill Crowder. We have so many things to do. Let's not make more with McGovern and Crowder, McGovern's going to be great.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the whole McGovern-Linsley thing?
I'm not opposed. Like, that would be an interesting way to improve guard. Like, I'm completely comfortable running it back with McGovern at center for next year. I think he came on strong at the end of the year. And I agree. I think the guard play was absolutely awful. So if you improve guard, I think he gets better. But at the same time, if you're telling me you can get a caliber of guard like you'd be getting from the Packers and you move McGovern over to or inverse that, center, and move McGovern over to guard, then I'm for it. I think that would be an interesting way to improve this line.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a wrong. There's no wrong way for me to address the offensive line. I think you can go with Wyatt Davis. I think you can go with Thuney. I think you can, run it back with some of the guys we currently have and just hope that a preseason and a full training camp and more continuity and a different offensive system, I think like all that makes sense. I don't see the offensive line getting worse from here to next year, though. Nope. If there's one thing that I trust Joe Douglas to do, it's offensive line. Even though the last 2 years have been a little shaky in terms of offensive line, I do think that it's still one of those areas that we should be excited about with Joe Douglas.
This offseason is going to be so good, dudes.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much capital and so much money and so many needs, and we have a fresh new staff that's worth a damn. Dude, let me tell you, Joe Douglas knew Adam Gase sucked. You know what I mean? He knew it. You know, we know it. We're fans and we know it. He's in the room with him. He knows what he's trying to accomplish and how it looks and how poorly he's doing it. He knew the whole time. He's been planning this the whole year, in my opinion. That's what I think. This is going to be the best offseason we've ever had. That's what I'm waiting for. If it's not, I'm going to be pissed.
I see Aaron's comment. He says, why has no one mentioned potentially getting Dak Prescott? If Dak doesn't get franchise tagged, I'm all for bringing in Dak Prescott. You're telling me you could bring in that caliber of a quarterback without giving up any draft picks, and you can hold on to number 2, either sign who you want or trade down? 100%. I know a lot of people aren't high on paying Dak a ton of money, but like, if I have to pay him $35 million a year and you're like literally not giving up any assets other than the money that we've blown, like, would you rather have CJ Mosley and Tremaine Johnson, or would you rather have Dak Prescott? I'd rather have Dak Prescott and all the draft picks and everything that goes with it. So I think it's more so that they feel like, or I think it's more so for myself, I feel like Dak's probably getting franchise tagged, and then they'll try to figure it out in Dallas, and if it doesn't work, they'll tag and trade him. But at that point, I don't want to trade for Dak. I would sign Dak. I would not trade for Dak. Matt, what's your feelings on that? Ryan. Or Green Bean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was just saying that's a good point. Matt can go.
I don't really think he hits the market. I think he gets franchised. My fear is that his number is going to be upwards of $40 million, and that's where it starts to get a little bit scary for me. But I do like Dak Prescott. I think he's a very good quarterback. And if he's, the medicals check out, then I'm interested. Great quarterback for sure.
Green Bean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, look, we gotta talk about that ankle, man. That was horrific to me. Okay. That it was quite literally swinging. It was backwards, dude. Yeah. So we don't know. He's a mobile quarterback. Okay, he's not just a pocket guy. His ankle would be important no matter what player he was. Okay, ankles are pretty important stuff. But he's a mobile quarterback. A lot of his game is that ability to move. That ankle, you need, before you're giving him $35 to $40 million, and don't forget, he turned down $35 million last year for 4 years. He turned it down. So I like Dak Prescott. I really like his fearlessness in talking about his mental health issues. You guys know my background. I respect that, man. And he got beaten up for it. Okay. I like him as a man and a player, but that ankle, dude, giving him $35-40 million, I would want to know that ankle is as good as new. But what Ryan said is a good point. If you could just give Dak Prescott some money and then use 2 to trade back and everything else, oh my God, what we could do,
All right, guys, we have hit the end of our show. It has been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. We'll be back here next Tuesday talking Jets with you guys, talking all the latest rumors and everything going on. So let's go around our panel. Let's give some closing thoughts. Green Bean, any last words for the panel?
Yeah, I love you guys, man. I'm really enjoying getting to know a lot of you guys. The Monday Night Mocks are rocking. My new podcast is out. Best case scenario for the offseason. It's on Green Bean Jets Fan YouTube, and I enjoy you guys coming. So please like and subscribe and all that stuff.
Matt, any last words for the panel?
My last words is don't overthink these quarterback prospects. Because a lot of people are doing that with both Fields and Wilson. And we'll find out about more on Wilson on Thursday, and then probably the following week, roughly, we'll do some deep dive on Fields. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh, I like it. I like it, guys. Make sure you stay tuned for all these upcoming videos. All the links for all these guys are down in the description down below. But, guys, my name's Ryan. I've been your pilot tonight. I'm tired. We're doing a 10 o'clock mock at 10 o'clock for members only. So, guys, make sure you tune in for that. I'll probably go live around 10:15 or so. So hang in there, guys, and we will see you in just a little bit.